Happy New Year. Or wait, we're 3 weeks into the New Year's as this recording, I believe.
Hey, for a
and
new
we Skip and I just wanted to kick this off. Skip had a great idea today for a podcast, and so I said, let's just do that.
Okay.
And he's all fired up on how to interview clients, like do stakeholder interviews, like lunch and learns where you can like network with your clients. These are all kind of wrapped into kind of the same engagement with your client. And this is pretty much universal. Like
Yes.
whoever or whatever industry you're in, this ability to connect with your clients is universal. And Skip was talking about lunch and learns today and the leveraging vendors. So Skip, tell us a little bit more about what we were talking about this morning and how other people can get their clients to actually engage and talk to them.
So this came up with a call with one of our members, and so I'll try to keep it shorter than the entire member session. But yeah, I think lunch and learns are another one of those undervalued sort of activities, and there is I don't know, from my perspective, there's a bit of a negative, value in the lunch and learn, but it can be extremely valuable. And here's probably the most important part. The top value in a lunch and learn is not what you teach your clients. All right. I know there's a learn part and there's a lunch part, right? We got to have good food.
Yep.
If you got to have
Big.
fajitas. If you're in Texas, you got to have good fajitas for lunch and learn. All right. But the value is the relationship that you build with your clients. All right. And so if we take that starting spot, I think that might refocus your view on lunch and learns. Because if you specifically, if you think the value of a lunch and learn is what you teach your clients, are you the only one that can teach that? Isn't there a whole long list of people that could teach, the 3 top tips to shop online safely or something, right? So your value is being a partner with your clients and helping them do whatever, but you're there with them. So that's expectation on the lunch and learn. So to the point, and how do we do these? Leverage your vendors. I've done this, I don't know how many times, and you always have these partnership programs they're in. Cisco was the big one for me, many years ago, and we just had a constant stream of Cisco employees coming through our offices. We were way out in the middle of nowhere, so in some cases we were, a road stop. But leverage those people. They're there. They're a subject matter expert. They can go and kind of talk with the authority of, some big, Fortune 100 company or whatever. So that brings a little bit of big credibility in. But here's another really, really important element. As long as you've got good vendors, all right, they're going to do right by you, right? If you get in the lunch and learn and, things that kind of go off, they're still going to think about you and your relationship with your client, how you're positioned there. I mean, they don't want to, bomb their vendors because you're selling, you're making money for them, right? You're selling their product. So they're going to position you in a better light. And you don't have to do hardly anything on the lunch and learns. It's a scheduling exercise. So those are, I think, some of the really important things to take away from thinking about lunch and learns and how you would do with them. The value of the relationship, the subject matter expert, and really engaging with your clients.
Yeah, and just to yes and that, when I was in the corporate world as an IT director, I had a discretionary spend of $100,000. Right? If I showed up on your doorstep and you had a good product for me, I could spend up to $100,000 without asking for permission. Now, if I did that 10 times in a row, a CFO would definitely sit down and talk to me.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I would sit there in my corporate office and I would every once in a while get invited to one of these lunch and learns. And I loved them. I wish there was a calendar I could go to. I said, oh, there's a lunch and learn. I'm going to go to that. It's on FortiGate in security in depth. And it'd be at some steakhouse and we'd all get there. And I knew I was going to get pitched in the beginning, which you do. But I got a nice steak dinner out of it, give and take. But then I also got this great education, and I got to network with other IT people in Lincoln. And so, a lot of them were there because it was a FortiGate, or it was a checkpoint, or it was a compellent SAN, or some kind of talk. And so we were all running similar technology. And I got to know people, and we would gripe about similar issues, and we would talk about things and collaborate. And if I were to come across, like, say, an MSP, and I'm ordering like 20 FortiGates at a time, guys. And if you're making like, I don't know, 4% margin on FortiGates, be like, hey, instead of me ordering this through vendor X, can you give me a price point on those 200Es? And you could be like, well, yeah, actually, let me look into that. And for you, that would be a big deal. You
Yeah.
just made a deal for 20 FortiGates. For me, it's just another day in the office. You're barely registering, other than I have a new friend and I'm willing to support you. And also, because I order these from an engineer rather than ordering from a salesperson, I've got another person to bounce ideas off of. Hey, Kate, when you do these in HA, are you using this particular mode or using this mode? And we get these collaborative ideas, and maybe I start engaging with professional services. And I know not everybody wants to do the co-hosted environments, or co-managed environments, but it is nice to have that network and those opportunities there,
Well,
because there
and
are a
that's
lot of opportunities, not just in the corporate side, but in your small business side as well.
to zero in, Adam. The really important there was not the sale, right? I mean, yes, that's great. 20 firewalls, with the licensing and all that kind of, and probably the maintenance and wrapped in there, or at least the opportunity. That's a really good deal. But the really important part there was the relationship.
Yeah.
So now there's new opportunities. Now there's, definitely more things to do. And because you're getting, in your specific situation, you're getting more than just a box with a device in it. You're getting what you said, somebody you can bounce ideas off, somebody you can collaborate with, and you're willing to pay for that.
Yep.
That's the real margin. All right. The margin on the hardware is always going to be, a battle to keep those from just plummeting, right? But the value and the margin in that relationship, and what the extra that you get, it's really hard to quantify. So it's hard for somebody to steal that from you. And two, it can be really, really good money.
It can be. But it's all about, when you do key stakeholder interviews or when you do lunch and learns, the important part is what Skip is saying. It's all about the person. It's all about building a relationship. It's not about teaching them about technology, convincing that they need more security, or pushing more speeds and feeds on them. What it's about is like, are you somebody I want to do business with? Are you somebody I actually enjoy being around? And I always give this illustration of Scott, my Orkin guy, right?
Yep.
Orkin's a pest control company. I don't really need to see what they're doing. I don't even care what chemicals they're using, really. Honestly, I'm just not that guy. If as long as my mice are not coming in my walls and scratching in my walls, I'm a pretty happy guy.
Yep.
But ants. I don't like ants. They can stay outside. I don't mind bugs. I'm an outdoors guy. Anyways, I always, every spring, get a parade of college kids learning sales coming to my door and saying, hey, we can do bug control for cheaper. And I listen to their pitch and I evaluate the pitch and I give them back feedback. And I say, sorry, I love my Scott. And then it's that Scott came in and he would spend 5 minutes building a relationship with you. He was really good at it. The new person doesn't really talk. They come in, they do their job, they leave.
Yeah.
So they're at risk of, like, next time somebody comes in saying new cheaper, and be like, you know what? Let's talk. Because Scott left. He had to move on because of health issues or something like that. I can't remember what it was. And maybe we were just retired. But we were all sad to see him go. And we wanted to keep going, but like that relationship was gone. Yeah. And I know in an MSP you're thinking, oh, well, I don't want all my clients to depend on one person. And that's okay, because you spread these relationships across your MSP. And they know when somebody from your MSP comes in, they're going to get an experience.
Yeah.
That this, whether it's a tech coming in and talking to Susan about her CFO and QuickBooks, or it's Bob coming in and talking about strategic budgets for next year, where we're going to push cash and how to manage vendor relationships. It doesn't matter, because they know that when they work with you, they know your staff. You're part of their culture. You are family to them. And that is important. You're not just somebody who just comes in, fixes things, and leaves into the sunset. And so when you do a key stakeholder interview, you're asking your point of contact, hey, who are 5 people I can meet with? I want to take them out to lunch and talk to them about what's going on in the organization. Where do they want to go? What are the big problems that are happening outside of IT? And then maybe we have technology solutions that'll help that. That one meeting is worth more than any QBR you can do all year long.
Sure. Well, and you mentioned that Scott was, he was good. He's personable. He really made that connection, and kind of circling back to the lunch and learns, and having a subject matter expert up there, kind of talking confidently and maybe not technically, but zeroing in on really important elements. Many of you have subject matter experts within your organization, and you're trying to leverage those. Now, I spent many years at MSP, and it truly had the most amazing technical team I've ever worked with. Still to this day, impressed with what those guys could do. But there were a very, very small percentage of those guys that I really wanted to put up in front of a group of people, or in some cases, just in front of any people, right? I mean, they're brilliant, but that relationship part was not in their skill sets. And when you leverage your vendors, those guys or girls are typically very good at that. Right? Yes, they are the subject matter expert, and they have that persona that engages well with people in conversations and can really lead that along. And so that's a way for you to tap into resources that you have that you might not be able to leverage internally. So, there's just a lot of ways to do this. Lunch and Learn describes, to me, it's a bit of an incorrect tag, but it's what we're using, I guess, to describe a whole series of types of events that you can have with your client that kind of center around food, and maybe just call the food event or whatever. Yeah. And you get to build those relationships with your clients. That is the really important part.
Yeah, and I cannot stress to you MSPs out there, when you're thinking about how to grow your MSPs, we call it trading dollars for dimes, or dimes for dollars?
Dimes for dollars, yeah.
You can spend all your time on operational efficiency and how to be a better MSP from delivery standpoint. Mm-hmm. Okay, yes, that is important. You do need to be operationally mature. However, it is not as important as building relationships with your customers. And you can see this in your own community, where people are winning over or have these clients, but they're just an okay MSP. They're not testing their backups quite right. They're just doing okay, and then you come in someday and you clean up a big mess.
Yes.
How are they getting these clients? Yeah. They've probably got a good ringer in there, a nice charlatan that's able to talk the talk and not deliver. So it is important to be operationally mature. There's a lot of you out there who are good at delivering on what you say, but you're just not getting the clients. It's like the nerd sitting in the corner of the playground who has no one to hang out with. They're a really smart and very capable person, but they don't actually go out there and learn how to play kickball. They don't actually go out there and talk to people, because they're like, I'm over here. I got my thing. I got my book. I'm good. I know I was the kid. I'm a personal person. I'm an extrovert, but I also had my J.R. Tolkien book that I was reading, and people made fun of me for it. Oh, and so I also happened to be a really good athlete, so I kind of defaulted into 2 arenas. And you want to be that high-tech nerd, and that's good. But if you don't get out there and network and talk to people, you are going to get overtaken by people who can. The popular kid who is a bit of a jerk is going to win prom king every time over the nerd who sits in the corner. This dumb rule that we've made so many movies about works. And it is still applicable in society everywhere. These little simple things. You need to get out there and have stakeholder interviews. You need to have lunch and learns. And you have the tools. If you do not want to talk in front of people, be the cool kid who hosted the party and invited somebody who was charismatic. Bring in that person from Trend Micro. Bring in that person from Ninja or from one of your vendors who would love to talk to all these people, say, no, that this is how they get their word out. They have a discretionary budget for this where they can say, oh, I need to go to 20 events this year and present about our new compellent SAN.
Yeah. Well, and that's the deal on the vendors. These opportunities would come up, and we knew, I mean, it wasn't, some bright idea what they had, but when these vendors showed up, they were like, okay, yeah, I need to get this quarter's slide deck, right? They have marketing people, and they've got people that have put this stuff together. They already have all the resources. They've probably already done something very, very similar to this 15 times, the previous month or whatever. They're in the mode. They're doing this, and it just makes it so much easier to leverage that. And because if you try to go out and do it on your own, you're going to want to do a good job, right?
Yep.
You're going to do some research. You're going to try to put some together information. There's a good chance that some of you at least are going to practice that. You're going to run through it, at least by yourself. I know I would. I got a little bit of that anxiety. Am I saying this right? Am I going too long? All this kind of stuff that just makes so much more effort than you have to spend. If you do the lunch and learns right, and so here's a couple of other quick tips on those. One, we didn't even pay for the food. All right.
Yep.
I would volunteer to pick it up or, make the order or whatever. When it came time for the credit card, I'm pointing to the office assistant, at the company going, all right, they're here. We need to pay them. So you show up, you do a little bit of intro at the very beginning, everybody already knows you. So it's really easy. It's maybe 5 minutes. And then you go to the back of the room and you eat. Right? You sit there, you just enjoy the deal. At the end, you come back up and you wrap it up. You take all of that and you make it part of what you're doing. So that's the perception that's left, is everybody gets up and leaves, and they had some good food. That was always nice. They had an engaging session where that maybe they learned something, or at least it was cool and enjoyable. But at the end, it was your face that they saw. It was your message. It was, the big, the last image up on the slide is your company logo or whatever. And so they see all of that as you.
Yes.
Even though it wasn't you doing all the heavy lifting, that's part of the deliverable that you're offering. And at the same time, you're sitting back there, you're chatting with different people, you're building those relationships. It's really kind of hard to screw up a lunch and learn if you value the relationship and not the learning part of it.
Yes. And I've titled this podcast, How to Interview Clients. And I'm willing to bet some people came into this podcast saying, ooh, I'm going to get a nice little checklist. They got out their piece of paper and got ready to take notes.
Yep.
We didn't tell you what interview questions to ask. We're not doing that because it's not about us. It's about you and your client's relationship. And that's completely unique. What you need is a vehicle to discuss. So let's say you don't have the energy, or you're too nervous to do a lunch and learn, which is a fantastic way to interview clients. So you don't want to call Trend Micro or whoever, or Ingram Micro, and have them sponsor an event. You don't want to go through that hassle. Okay, maybe you don't have $500 to host a dinner in your local Applebee's. Well, there are other things you can do that are very, very simple, such as a SWOT exercise. If you're more technically minded, go and look at any of my videos on SWOT. Some of them are like 5 years old, but they still are relevant. Heck, you don't want to see my ugly mug? Just type in SWOT exercise into Google and find your favorite video, and there's some great people who've talked about them.
Yep.
Say, hey, client, I'd love to do a SWOT exercise with you, and 3 of the people in your company that know what's going on. I don't need directors. I don't need CEOs. What I need is 3 people who know your business really well. and I want to do a SWOT exercise so we can align technology better with what you're doing. We're not going to sell anything in this meeting. I'm just gathering information. Come in there with a box of donuts and a box of coffee from your local coffee shop and take an hour to go through this and get their thoughts on the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats facing that organization.
Fantastic
And
exercise.
you are going to have one heck of a conversation, and you're going to walk away with things that you're like, oh my gosh, this is how my conversations could be going. Your first one, even if you don't know what you're doing, is going to be amazing.
Yes, absolutely.
I guarantee it. And that's your excuse. You just need an excuse to get together with your clients. You're interviewing them in that you're listening to what they're talking about. They may be on a rant about some major project that's going on today that Barry dropped the ball on, and now they've got to pick it up, and they got to do this and this. And like, well, why aren't you just doing this? And they're like, what do you mean? Well, you can do collaborative document editing in Office 365, and it'll make that much easier, so you don't have to wait for him every time to send you the document. You're like, what?
Yep.
You know, maybe they don't know how to do collaborative document editing. It's been around for what, 15 years now, but people don't know about it. You know, you're always finding things like that. To
Yep.
you, it's the solution is obvious. You assume they already knew how to do this thing. I can tell you, I know a lot of people my age, Gen Xers, that don't know how to do collaborative document editing. Now, you ask any kid in high school, they know Google Docs backwards and forth. They use Google Docs as chat engines to talk to each other in
Yes.
class, because they
Yep.
know that if they both get on the same document, they add their friend to it, they can talk during class.
Yep. Yep.
And we as Gen Xers, boomers, or even millennials, like, we're behind the curve on some of this stuff. And technology people assume that their clients know all this stuff because you know all this stuff. And so in an interview with your client, you're simply listening to them talk about their day, their stresses, giving a vehicle, whether it's over lunch or it's over a SWOT exercise or something non-IT related, to listen to them talk about the business. Your brain will fill in those gaps, and your roadmap for 2025 will be filled out in one meeting.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, that's probably another. I'm always looking for really good examples that people can grab onto, and that collaborative document one is probably a really good one, because if that comes up in a conversation, your client's not coming at that from a technical perspective, right? That's going to come up as a pain point or something that they need. There's a business driver there that brings that point up, and then you provide the technical solution. But from your client's perspective, when it follows that sort of workflow or whatever that is, when it occurs in that method, you're not providing a technical solution for them. You're solving a problem. And that's totally different. I mean, you could come to them and sit down and go, hey, I've got this deal. I want to teach you guys how to do collaborative documents. And along the way, your client might go, oh, wow, that's going to fix this problem here. But guess who solved that problem? All right, they did. They made the connection between the technical capability and how it would fix their business. All right. If you flip that around by just having a conversation, now you have solved the business problem. You have helped their business, and that fundamentally changes the relationship that you have with your clients.
Correct. And there is no MSP, there is no competitor who's going to come in and take that relationship away from you.
That's right.
Because they now see you as a trusted advisor. Not
There
because of any checklist trick I gave you, not because of any weird gimmick or cocaine you snuck into their coffee. It's just because you built a relationship.
Yep.
You simply were present and you offered them something and got to know them, and that drives the relationship. I think this has been a great conversation. We should every January we do talk about stakeholder interviews in our community meeting. So please come at 1:00 on Thursdays. Also, I'm looking for MSPs to interview throughout the year. We have quite the following with our podcast. You get 5 reels, you get a full podcast, and you're going to get thousands of views and listens, if not tens of thousands, depending on how interesting you are. And so if you are an MSP who wants to increase their presence in your area and get some free marketing collateral, reach out to me here, and we can talk. Also, don't forget to give us a review. We've got a lot of listeners out there, and we've got like 10 reviews. Yep. So I would love to see more people kick us off the new year with, hey, I love your podcast. Give us a thumbs up on Apple, Spotify, or whatever your favorite media is. And that will really help us spread the word on how to be better MSPs, how to do better account management, and how to listen to your clients more efficiently.
Yeah, I think we've tapped into the lurker community, which I am one of. So, I'm feeling kind of good about that. But yes, that would really help us out if you could, please.
When I look at Metricool and I see how many people listen to our podcast and how many people are actually like adding reviews and sharing, I'm like, there's a disconnect here somewhere.
Yes.
So everyone, please leave a review. It really helps us out. It helps promote our podcast. We do this for free. We do this out of love of our heart, trying to spread the word on how to do things better.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you all next week, and Happy New Year.
See ya.